Green EU rules, which farmers claim are leaving them at an unfair disadvantage, are making them more hostile to trade deals, Peter Kleppe said. Furious protests which brought Brussels to a standstill this week will not stop until the bloc addresses the concerns of farmers, an expert has warned. Demonstrators sprayed police officers with liquid manure and threw eggs and flares during a demonstration timed to coincide with a meeting of EU agriculture ministers. At one point water cannons were used to douse a large mound of burning tires. Farmers are angry at red tape and competition from cheap imports from countries where the EU's relatively high standards do not have to be met, which they say puts them at an unfair. Peter Kleppe, editor of Brussels Report.eu, who is himself based in the Belgian capital, said the scenes were embarrassing and not a good look for the bloc, and pointed to similar protests in France, Spain and elsewhere as evidence of rising frustration. He told Express, "This is a big deal. Farmer protests across Europe are continuing, because the EU has only made minor concessions to farmers so far, only reducing some bureaucratic burdens, but leaving in place most of the green rules that are complicating farming." Mr. Kleppe explained, the farmer grievances, for example, they are angry about cuts to some national and EU subsidies, but these are for the most part compensation for a central planning straitjacket, mostly controlled at the EU level, which many farmers have never asked for. Still, EU green policies, constraining farming in many different ways, are at the core of the protests. A lot of those rules are also making farmers more hostile to trade deals, given that they find it unfair to have to comply with much more stringent green regulation than importers. In response, the EU was attempting to impose its green standards on potential trade partners in Latin America and Southeast